What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuuX. This is episode 7 and 8, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah, so before we get started, we just wanted to clarify something about the whole writing team. We do know that Hideaki Anno is involved in writing for the show, but we find out that Anno only wrote the flashback sequences, particularly the ones featuring Char. While the person writing the present day sequences, Yoji Enokido, who also worked on Evangelion in the past, but he's pretty much he's the one responsible, writing the present day storylines.
Yeah, like I was saying before the recording, it just doesn't feel like the present day storyline just does not really feel like something Anno would have written. I mean, I can kind of see the flashback storyline considering Anno is a huge Gundam fan. But the present day stuff just does not feel like it just doesn't feel very like, I mean, because I've seen other stuff from Anno, and I mean, it just doesn't really feel like something he would have done. I mean, he's done similar things, but just not in the way that it's presented, that it's done in the present storyline. So I guess it makes sense that somebody else was writing it. But it does make me question like how much involvement beyond just writing the flashbacks like Anno has. Maybe he was supervising or something to some extent. Maybe how the present day storyline is written, but could be very hands off about it. I'm not sure. But yeah. So things actually start to pick up in a pretty major way in episode 7, where like just a lot of things. It feels like it sort of sets, I guess you'd say, like the status quo of the series, maybe going forward with what happens in this episode. Because initially I thought that a lot of maybe like the first half of this series was going to be like these Gundam tournaments or the clan battles. But I mean, as we saw in the previous episode too, it seems like that's pretty much over with at this point. That's probably not going to continue, and maybe that was just something they were doing in like the very beginning of the show, and it's going to turn into something else because we get a lot more like world building stuff in this episode and the next one, where we learn a little bit more about what's going on with the current state of the Zeon government,
And also the state of the main cast as well, as we find out with once Machu finds out Anki's plan to pretty much sell her out to pretty much the Zeon forces. She asks Neon to pilot the GQuuuuuuX, but they also like Neon also asks if she has feelings towards Shuji, which she doesn't really answer, and throws that question back at her if she feels the same way towards Shuji, and we never really get an answer to that.
Yeah, this is something else. I just, at least so far, maybe it'll improve later on, but so far I don't like it. It feels very lazy, like the way I guess you'd say the romance. There isn't any, but I mean it feels like just very lazily done. I mean, romance in Gundam has like never been like a strong point of the series, but I feel like it's at least been handled a little bit better than this. Like, it feels like there's a more gradual build up to it. Where here it just kind of happens. It's like Dion just all of a sudden seems to have feelings for Shuji, and we're not really sure why. I mean, the same could be said of Machu as well. Like, I don't know why she has an attraction to Shuji. It just, I mean, I guess she finds him attractive. But other than that, like, what is it based on? I mean, why does she have feelings for him? Why does Neon have feelings for him? I don't really know. But she seems really determined to, like, run away with Shuji in this episode and is just willing to do anything for him.
Yeah. So we find them like in the clan battle, which literally takes place in a populated area of the city, which is a bit questionable. Like what, like how or why or who set this up in the first place. But regardless, they're fighting against both Gates and Dual Murasame against their Psycho Gundam mobile armor, and it just like all hell breaks loose immediately. Like once the Psycho Gundams, go into battle, and they just cause destruction and mayhem, like literally everywhere inside 6.
Yeah, I mean, at least we finally actually get to see the Psycho Gundam, actually do something. I mean, I wasn't sure if it was going to be similar to the original design of the Psycho Gundam, but there is some differences with this new version of the Psycho Gundam versus the original because it has some abilities that I haven't seen in the original Psycho Gundam. Obviously, we have it like firing like beams out of its fingers. Um, in the original, it had like a dormant state where it was like in like a cube or something, and then it would transform into its mobile armor form like a giant Gundam. And that's kind of similar to what it does here, but we see it also doing some new things too. Like it's hard to explain. Like it looks like it can detach, I guess parts of its armor, like from itself, and use that as like some kind of a weapon.
Yeah. And of course, we know that Gates and Do Murasame's mission is to go and assassinate Cassilia, who's of course over there for some diplomatic mission of her own. And of course, things go completely haywire with.
Also, really
Mo-
quick
yeah.
too, like Murasame, like her name is the same name as for Murasame. So I'm wondering if there is going to be some connection that gets revealed later about maybe her being somehow related to four. I mean, especially considering she's piloting the Psycho Gundam.
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell considering what happens to them both by the end of this
Yeah.
episode, but uh, so well, so it just goes bad to worse from there, and Neon and Shuji had to have to get away from the battle, and of course, I think either the Xeon forces or I think it was like the Side Six. I think the Side Six authorities go to try to apprehend them, but okay, so Neon like literally just tells Shuji is like we should get away from here, leave Machu, leave everything behind, and be together or something like that. Which it's kind of I don't know. It follows up on with that whole with that whole thing with whether or not like if Neon really likes Shuji, and I don't know
Well,
if
I
it
think it's
really
pretty clear after that scene. I mean, it seems
probably, but
yeah.
but then all of a sudden the Red Gundam unleashes like another what was it they call it the Zeknova, which is the same instance which caused Char to disappear back at the end of the 1 Year War, and Shuji disappears along with the Red Gundam, and Neon like literally just runs away, abandoning the GQuuuuuuX in the middle of the street, and
Yeah,
and so
it's still not clear like what causes this phenomenon either. It just seems like, as far as I can tell, it's just some new type. It's basically just new type nonsense. You know, it's something to do with the new types that causes this to happen. Um, but we don't really know like what triggers it or anything.
so we follow back to Machu while the whole thing was going on. She goes to the Pomeranian headquarters to pretty much like grab all the clan battle prize money. But of course, Anki, catches her doing so before Machu grabs a gun from her safe and threatens to shoot her with it. Of course, like Anki holds her ground, but of course, Machu shoots really close to her, but doesn't kill her.
Oh yeah,
So yeah,
this scene was completely ridiculous because I mean either Machu is just a horrible shot or she just missed on purpose. But Anki's like standing what seems to be like, I don't know, like 5 feet away from her maybe, and she misses her somehow. Like she shoots, like we see like she shot the wall, like I guess right next to her, but she just missed her.
I mean,
So
I mean, I could assume that that Machu's never held a gun before, so I mean,
well, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of hard to miss when you're like that close, though. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I thought the whole thing was completely ridiculous, but I mean, obviously, like, Anki was sort of calling her bluff, like, Machu's not going to shoot her. And I didn't think she was either, but I actually was a little bit surprised that she did, but she missed anyway. So it was just, I don't know. It makes me wonder, like, did she miss on purpose or was she just like that bad of a shot?
so we do cut back to the Psycho Gundams, and they're literally close to killing Cassilia before what was it? Chalia comes out with his I don't know. I can't really consider it a mobile suit. It was just like more of an airship or something like that. and he
Yeah.
immediately kills both Gates and Do like so easily, which caught me off guard. And Bill, of course, Chalia uh, has this goal of wanting to get rid of Cassilia because that was his and Char's plan from the start. But he's using this event as cover as a way to gain Cassilia's trust.
Yeah.
So eventually, Machu locates the GQuuuuuuX just in the middle of the street before she's branded as a fugitive by Side Six, and then she escapes with the GQuuuuuuX soon afterwards. Before she gets captured by Chalia soon afterwards. Neon, in the meantime, while she's running away, she gets apprehended by Xavier, who was the original pilot of the GQuuuuuuX, and he takes her to Cassilia, and then and of course they take her in to be a member of the Xeon, I guess the Xeon Arm or Xeon Academy or something like that, because she piloted the GQuuuuuuX. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, by the end of that episode, like, Neon is with Cassilia, and Machu is with Chalia by the end of that episode. And of course, this transitions us into the following episode, which I mean, unless you've watched the movie in theaters, you could assume this is more of a half episode at most.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it is more so just the beginning portion of the episode that is like the rest of the flashback sequence. It's I mean, but still it is a little bit annoying if you've already seen the movie and you've already seen these scenes. They're just sort of they've been rearranged in the series, so there's some I forget who was taught like retelling this event in the series, but like we see like it's I think it was Cassilia. I think it was Cassilia that was talking about it, where we see the remainder of the fight. And obviously, like it doesn't happen. I don't think it happens any differently. I think it happens the same way that it did in the movie.
Yeah,
Um,
it's exactly what we saw back in the movie. I
yeah,
mean, we don't have to go over everything, but
right. Yeah. So
yeah,
we see that scene again. And I guess yeah, for people who haven't seen the movie, at least they get the rest of that scene. But it's just weird how it's presented in the series. I mean, I guess it's not. I guess if you haven't seen the movie, maybe you won't really notice, or you won't really have as much of a problem with it. But if you have, it's just gonna feel weird, like watching the series and then just have like I guess the first half or the first portion of the flashback, and then you don't get the rest of it until like what episode 8. So yeah, it's kind of weird how they did that, but yeah, so it's just the rest of that flashback and then like yeah the majority of this episode we don't even see Machu in this episode. It's just the whole episode we get things from Neon's perspective.
yeah. So Neon, like, she gets an offer from Cassilia to be a part of the Xeon Academy, and of course, she can be like a full fledged citizen if she graduates from there, and she gets introduced to one of Xavier's classmates, I think Miguel, and then they introduce her to this brand new Gundam called the G-Fred mobile suit, which overall is design. We talked about this before we started recording. It's like design and color scheme is like similar to what was it, the Eva Unit 1 from Evangelion.
Yeah, yeah. There's so far been a few like Evangelion Easter eggs in the series. Just the look of the G Fred, and also the scene where they first present it as well. Is pretty much the same shot from episode 1 of Evangelion where Shinji's looking at Unit 1 and they're like standing on the bridge. Also it's a little bit similar in that the G Fred I guess sort of reacts like I guess maybe just because of new type stuff, actually, it reacts to Neon, and I guess in a way, like you could sort of draw a parallel with how like Unit 1 kind of also has a little bit of like a mind of its own, and is drawn to Shinji for reasons, but that it kind of seems to be a similar case with maybe like with the G Fred.
So what the pretty much what happens is uh I think Xavier explains that a couple other of their classmates tried to pilot the G-Fred, but they ended up dying under mysterious circumstances. So
Yeah.
this leads to Neon, like, looking into this, about
Well,
like what
okay,
really
so
happened. Yeah.
yeah, so he says that, but he says that on the day, or I guess was it when they graduated from the academy, or to like I guess celebrate that they were chosen as the pilot for the G Fred, like they would have like this cake, or they would have cake before Miguel would bake them a cake to celebrate the occasion, and this seems to pique Neon's interest that each time that Miguel bakes them a cake, and then she decides to look into it more.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty interesting how she puts two and two together based on this. Based on this, I don't know. It's like she pretty much like one time uh she and Miguel are alone, and then Miguel offers her cake, and then she just suddenly just puts two and two together, um, figuring out that Miguel is the culprit of like killing his two classmates. But of course, he
Yeah.
did this for a reason. Is to prevent the G Fred for turning its pilots into something called the Diablos, which we don't really get like much elaboration of like what's going on with like the whole G Fred thing, and
Mhm.
whether or not if this will have something similar to what the GQuuuuuX does. Um, but yeah, like Miguel, like of course Xavier, catches on to the conversation, and Miguel is holding uh Neon at gunpoint before like Neon climbs next to the G Fred, and its presence like
Well, she
li-
flips the table to like catch him off guard,
yeah.
um, and then escapes in the confusion and tries to get into the G Fred, but Miguel eventually like catches up to her, tries to stop her, but then she manages to activate the G Fred, I guess through like her new type abilities, in which we see somewhat of what the G Fred can do. It's like uses some I don't know if they're like you call them like gun bits or something, but it basically ends up like vaporizing Miguel, or it's just I mean I thought the way this scene played out was kind of weird, because it completely vaporizes him, but we don't really see it. It almost seems like he disappears at this point. Like he gets vaporized, but there's like absolutely like nothing left of him.
But
Like
like
it melts
I
the
li-
bridge.
I looked at that scene. It just seems like just that little frame of him like just completely disappears. They don't really see his
Yeah,
body just
yeah. That
gone
was the
like that.
weird thing. Like I was thinking like there was going to be maybe something left of him. Like there was going to be like I don't know like innards or some part of his body just floating around, but he just completely disappears. Like he was never even there. I don't know. I wonder if that was like intentional or if it was some kind of a mistake, because it just seems really weird how it happens.
Yeah. So yeah, after this, Cassilia learns of the incident, and of course, she catches on to like one of her assistants being like a spy to Giren, and she ends up shooting him. Um, and of course, Cassilia decides to use Neon for her goal to, I guess, in a way to replicate the whole Zeknova thing, which happened to both Char and Shuji. Um, and then, of course, Neon learns that the GQuuuuuX has escaped to Earth somehow. So, if I think we will get the same scene, like I think by the next episode, under Machi's perspective.
Yeah, well, especially if the episode previews anything to go by. Also, there is a little segment at the end of the episode. Um, we see this. I did the woman. Did they name the woman? Like, I didn't recognize her, but we see the man and the woman like at I guess an airport. Um, and you speculated that maybe that this might be Char, because we don't really see his face. Like we don't really see his eyes until like for a little
I'm
bit, but
going by how similar he sounds. Not just the
yeah.
Japanese, but I also hear the how similar the English dub version is too. So that immediately led me to speculate that this is Char in some form or
Mm.
matter. I mean, it's not. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's possible because the fact that like his hair is like literally just blocking like the top half of his face, like similar to how Char always keeps a mask over, his face every single time. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a possibility, but it might be possible that this is Char, who somehow got escaped the whole Nova incident.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up somehow. Like, I mean, as far as we know, he's missing. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent episode. I mean, it seems like it's from what I'm seeing, it seems like the setup so far is that Neon and Matsu are at opposite ends of this sort of like not a I don't know. I guess it's somewhat of a conflict. Like, because we learned that there are these like two. At least so far, we learned there are like almost like two different factions within the New Zeon government, with like Girin and Cassilia sort of being at sort of opposed to each other. I'm wondering if this is going to maybe eventually turn into some kind of like civil conflict or something, and that Machu and Yan are going to end up like having to fight each other because they'll just be like, because they're sort of like at opposite ends of that. So I wonder if that's where this is going, but maybe it's kind of too early to say. I like I said, I like that it's not that the series is not just the clan battles for at least the first half of it, like with Wish from Mercury. It almost seems like the series was trying to make us think that's what it was going to be, and it seems like it's kind of going in another direction, but I'm still not sure exactly where it is going. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So far, I kind of have somewhat mixed feelings about the series. Like, I'm intrigued to see where it's going. I like a lot of the references and Easter eggs we've been getting from like the original series and also from Zeta. But the other thing I'm curious about is what role some of the other original series characters or even some of the Zeta characters are going to play in this new series. We still have yet to see that. I mean, the fact that that one woman's name, like her name was Murasame, like kind of makes me wonder if 4 does play some kind of role later on, and that we just haven't seen her yet. But yeah, there are a lot of things I have questions about that I'm hoping the series like somewhat addresses at some point. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, like I'm still curious of like what the overall dynamic or potential conflict this is gonna have for both Neon and Machu, because it's just I feel like I don't know I just feel like it's gotten off to somewhat of a rocky start just due to the fact that they're both attached to Shuji in some form or manner, and I feel like just not to mention the fact that that Neon wanted to abandon Machu and keep Shuji to herself. So I don't know if they're gonna have like this whole conflict over Shuji as the main reason as their conflict, or if this whole civil conflict between like what was it, Cassilia and Giran is gonna be play a major factor, if that's gonna be the reason. It's really hard to tell at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, Shuji himself is also somewhat of a mystery because we don't really know much of anything about him.
No.
So, yeah, I think he's definitely going to. Obviously, he's going to play a role, but we still don't know what it is, and we don't really know really who he is at all. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.